What's up, guys? Jake Booz here. Today I am reviewing Straight Outta Compton.
I heard you've been spending a lot of time at your auntie house. How's the couch life?
Got my woman and my baby living there. It's hard, man. But you know, everybody can't do what you do.
Really, what I do getting played out, Dre. Where the money at?
Why you gotta be so ruthless, cuz?
I'll make a few changes.
Where you think you going? I'm just trying to get home.
That's my son! You need to get back in the house or I will ruin your life. I gotta talk to my moms like that.
So Straight Outta Compton is the biopic film about NWA, which is the world's most dangerous group. It follows the story of Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, and Ice Cube on their journey. It's a great rags to riches story. If you don't know the story of NWA, it's a pretty interesting story. And does this film do it justice? You goddamn right it does. This movie, from point A to point B, start to finish, I was very interested and intrigued by this movie. From the trailers alone, I was really intrigued by this movie. I was really excited to go see it. It was one of my most anticipated movies of the year. I was very excited to go in to see it, and it did not disappoint. One of the things that really impressed me of this movie was the acting. A lot of times in biopic films or stories about real life events, they really fall flat in the acting category because they always choose style over substance, especially in the category of trying to find actors that only look like their real life counterparts and not what the character actually acted like. But in this movie, that is not the case. One of my biggest worries was O'Shea Jackson Jr. as Ice Cube. If you don't know, that's Ice Cube's actual son playing Ice Cube, which I thought was awesome to begin with, but I had a worry about it. I felt like they had chosen him only because of his looks. The dude had not been anything else. So this is a pretty big motion picture film, and this is his first movie, and it's a pretty big budget movie in my opinion, and he was phenomenal in this movie. He impressed the hell out of me. He had the acting chops of his dad, clearly. He was very realistic. It felt like you were watching Ice Cube on the screen. I don't think the dude will get an Oscar nomination or anything for Best Actor, but I think he did a phenomenal job, especially for his first movie, and that blows my mind. But the real standout performance was the actor who played Eazy-E. I am truly sorry I don't know this guy's name, but he was phenomenal in this movie. I think he actually was an actor before this movie, so there's that. But he was phenomenal in this movie. He hit every single emotional beat just as he needed to. He was reserved when he needed to be. He lost it when he needed to. And he was very calm and collective at some parts, while other parts he was freaking out. He was just a very realistic portrayal of Eazy-E. The dude was a phenomenal actor in this movie. I was very impressed by him. And all around the acting was very solid. The actor who played Dr. Dre was good. The actor who played all the other side characters like DJ Yellow was very good, and Paul Giamatti's in this movie, and Paul Giamatti is always awesome. I love that dude. He was phenomenal in this movie as their agent. So yeah, but other than the acting, this film was pretty well directed in my opinion. It was directed by F. Gary Gay, I believe his name is, and he also directed Friday, which starred Ice Cube in it, and the dude did a great job of telling the story. It was a very well told story visually, and it was very well written as well. I'm not sure how much of this was real and how much of it was tinkered with to make it a more interesting story, but that doesn't matter to me because in biopics, I'm going in to watch the film. I don't care about the real life story, even though it's a very interesting one. I'm more intrigued by how the film's going to tell the story, and this film does a phenomenal job at telling the story. Like I said, this movie is a 2-hour and 40-minute runtime, and from a guy, if you've seen my other videos where I talk about how I don't like movies that run too long because they don't deserve it, this movie had every right to be that long, and it used every single minute of it to its best ability. Phenomenal from start to finish. I was never bored with this movie. The acting, the directing, and the writing all combined together to make a very, very compelling movie. Now, a lot of critics and reviewers have been saying that the third act in this movie, a lot of them are saying they hate it, that it falls flat. I don't think that's the case in this movie. I don't think that's at all. I think what happens is the first and second act of the film are so great and so well executed that it's very hard to follow up on that, and it does lose a little bit of steam in the third act of the film, but not to the extent where I would hate it or that I was ever not interested in the film. It was still awesome to watch and still interesting, and the acting was still very good, and the writing was good, and the directing was all still very good in that third act. It just lost a little steam from the second act into the third act just because the first and second act were so good, and they were very hard to follow up on. Now, my only other issue with this movie is that I really wish it would have focused a little bit more on their dealing with police brutality and stuff. That was a main staple of the film for at least the first 2 acts, but the third act of the film it was put on the back burner. It was still there, but it was put on the back burner as opposed to the rest of the group and their dynamic and them going solo. And it was more focused on the group themselves than the police brutality aspect of it, which I was really enjoying in the first and second act. The police brutality scenes in this film really added to this film. They were so intense. Some of the most intense films I've seen in cinema in a while, and that's coming from a guy who saw Mission Impossible only a week or two ago. These are some of the most intense scenes I've seen in a long time, and that is a credit to the directors and the actors in this film. Awesome job all around. I was very impressed by this film. Honestly, just because of the circumstances, the way the film was made, and the real-life aspect of it, this film honestly could get an Oscar nomination. In my opinion, Mad Max should win the Best Picture Oscar hands down, but honestly, I think this film could get nominated. The guy who played Easy A, I think, should get at least a Best Actor nomination because he was outstanding in this movie. One of my best performances of the year by far. Dude did a great job. Yeah. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm Jake Booz, and I am out.